According to the U.S. Census Bureau, over a quarter of the U.S. population and 20% of older adults now live by themselves. And a recent Cigna survey revealed that nearly half of Americans always or sometimes feel alone, that's 46%, or left out, and that's 47%. A full 54% say that they always or sometimes feel that no one knows them well. Those are some pretty depressing stats, man.
Yeah, I mean, does that include you?
I'd say so. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm honestly very grateful that I have a lot of people in my life that I could say I turn to. But these kind of, like, this data basically means that a full half of America right now doesn't have anyone to turn to or, like, to talk to or, kind of help them through their problems.
Yeah, so do you think this is because they're introverts?
I don't think half of America are, like,
introverts,
fully
right?
Introverts.
Introverts, right?
Honestly, like, I don't think anyone is fully an introvert because it's like sort of a spectrum,
Yeah.
Like obviously there's people that like to be alone sometimes, but no one wants to be lonely, Like, for example, like I'm sure you want to be alone whenever you're, like, editing or doing your
when you're doing
projects.
your own work, of course you want to be alone.
Yeah, because you want time to focus, reflect on yourself.
Of course. And I think that wow, this is getting awkward because sometimes I suffer loneliness too.
Okay.
And I think when you suffer from loneliness, it's very sad because you can be depressed. But like you said, you do need loneliness when you're doing something productive.
I wouldn't even call it loneliness. I just say, like, you're being alone.
You're being alone.
There's a difference between between isolating yourself or being isolated, which I'd categorize as loneliness, and just being by yourself and enjoying your own company.
Some people are definitely happy with that. I think a lot of people are starting to do that. Definitely, I think social media has something to do with that. What do you think about that?
You think social media is making people feel like
they're
alone?
I feel like, when was the last time you actually called someone?
I called you today.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying that, our cell phones are becoming more of social media things than actual making calls and talking to someone physically, or all over the phone. I don't think people are actually trying to get out much and actually meet with their friends as much because they're automatically just talking to them over the phone, just texting them. Do you get what I'm saying?
But why? I understand what you're saying, but how does the relationships you make, like, or maintain through your phone, like, let's say, like, I have a friend and we both have pretty busy schedules, so I'll message them on a daily basis and we'll keep in talk, like, we'll talk like that. Wouldn't you say that that's, like, a healthy way to maintain a relationship?
I can only speak for myself. Here's the thing. I think it is healthy to a certain point. I think physical interactions are still important. There's a busy schedule for people like us, especially college students, that we can't really make time for people much. But I think over the time that I think we're getting too dependent. This is just my opinion. I think we're getting too dependent on, social media, where we're canceling plans and we're just FaceTiming people over the holidays even. People who celebrate Christmas or Eid, they're just like, how are you guys doing? They're not even trying to meet up with the family. Just FaceTime is just, that's all that does it,
I get what you mean. What you mean. Yeah, for real. But when you, like, have people that you want to see, you'll definitely go out of your way to see.
Of course.
Yeah, you'll definitely go out of your way.
Do you flake on people? You definitely flake on people, bro.
No.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
flake, bro.
I wouldn't say it's flaking. It's like things come up.
Things happen, but I feel like some people, they have no excuses. They're not really doing anything, and they just they're like, oh, I can't come today, and they're actually sad. What happens is people have very low patience nowadays. Right. I realize people have very low patience. So if I flake on a guy 3 times, that's the last time I'll hear from him. He's like that. Okay.
You're flaking 3 times.
3 times. That makes sense. Yeah.
But
what if those 3 times I was an accident?
Okay.
Think about it. So I think people have very low patience.
It depends.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you have valid excuses all of those 3 times, then yeah,
it makes sense.
But let's say you're like, bro, my bad. I'm like tired right now.
I'm like
I don't
tired.
want to get out of bed. Like, that's kind of like.
I just went to the gym right now. We have a lot of friends that do that.
That's honestly, I'd say that's a valid excuse. It's more like when you don't have anything as a priority in your time right now, and then you just want to, like, hang out and you just want to, like, chill at home watching Netflix rather than physically going outside, to see someone that you're acquainted with. I'd say that's when it becomes flaking.
Yeah, of course. So what do you think the remedy for this is for people who are suffering from loneliness, like actual loneliness? and they're not really finding any help. They're trying to find friends online, but it's not helping them. Do you have any remedy for that? What do you think they should do?
I don't know if I have a remedy for that, but
what would you do?
if I was experiencing loneliness,
Yeah.
Well, there were having points in like my life, and I'm sure I think most people experience loneliness at least a few times throughout their life.
Definitely, yeah.
Because you can't be, or maybe it's not the fact that they were objectively speaking lonely. They probably did have people around them, but maybe they themselves were isolating themselves so that they wouldn't have to interact with people through painful experiences that they've gone through, or trauma, and then they just want to shut themselves off from society or whoever else they know. I think for those people, it's tough. It's really tough to get out of your head and to kind of look around you and see who is actually there, because you think, maybe not I shouldn't say you, because I probably also experienced this where I just think, oh, no one is gonna get me, kind of thing. I don't know how to phrase it.
It's funny because we're all battling the same things at the end of the day, but we think others won't get us. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, and continue.
Well, okay. Well, let's get back to what the main kind of topic was, which is loneliness, and the statistics that it started off with was more of the fact that people literally don't have anyone to turn to.
Wow, that's
the problem.
That is a problem.
That is a huge problem.
Because then you go into other issues, right?
Yeah, once you isolate yourself, and once you become isolated, dude, you become you go through a spiral of just
trauma.
So many other problems.
Trauma.
That
trauma.
can lead to self-hatred,
depression.
For real, that can lead to a lot of anxiety, because now you don't have people to kind of comfort you,
lean on,
or let you know that things are gonna be okay. And I don't know, dude, that's a very scary thing. And it's just what you were right when you said that it also leads to things like depression, or it can lead to even more what's the word, tangible kind of disorders, or tangible illnesses, or even things you can physically see on your body, pretty much, because in psychology there's this thing called psychosomatic disorders, where the mind and your body is interconnected.
Interconnected, right? Definitely, yeah.
So pretty much when your body is going through a stressor, your mind will also feel that, and vice versa. Everyone kind of knows what a placebo is, right?
Placebo effect, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's heard of that. We've heard of it in elementary, middle school, where sometimes you'll be given a sugar pill, which is the placebo, and then
the doctor gives that to you, right?
Yeah, and then another group will get the actual drug for the disease, and it'll have the same effect, because your mind processes it as, oh, I'm getting the cure for whatever I'm going through, or I'm getting the remedy for my ailment.
Now, that's a very powerful statement you just made. I think the placebo thing, many times people that actually go to doctors, actually happened to me once. Actually, I went to a doctor. It was for a migraine, right? It's for a migraine. I suffer migraines a lot often. Mm-hmm. But this one time the doctor said, here, I gave you this medicine last week. It wasn't actually a medicine. It was just a sugar pill. Did you feel better when you got home?
Seriously?
Yeah, it happened once. And I'm like, yeah, it did help. And it's it's most likely the migraines from stress. You're probably stressing about something in your life.
Yeah.
If you want to discuss it, maybe we can share it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're definitely right about that point.
Yeah, I actually... So I've heard of that study, but I didn't know people
No, it happens. It's very rare though.
Okay, gotcha.
It happens.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely cool. So in the same article that I was reading with the statistics I mentioned previously, it also mentioned another study that they did, and I'll just read it. So it says in 2015, researchers at UCLA discovered that social isolation triggers cellular changes that result in chronic inflammation, predisposing the lonely to serious physical conditions like heart disease, stroke, metastatic cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. One 2015 analysis, which pulled data from 70 studies following 3.4 million people over 7 years, found that lonely individuals had a 26% higher risk of dying. and then that figure rose to 32% if they were living alone. That's crazy, dude, because just this feeling of being away from people literally can kill you.
Can cause literally cause other disease and kill you. And that's big. I think that's why we're talking about this today, because
we did mention it today.
We did talk about it today. And I want to go back to the social media thing. That's my perspective. I think social media is one of the things that's creating loneliness. Because here's the thing. There's something called social media influencer. I think you've been on Instagram.
Influencers.
Basically, they go on these massive trips, that people would die to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps other people from actually going to go there,
Right.
They're like, yo, I've seen it. And I ask people, did you actually go there? Did you actually experience it with people? They're like, no, I don't need to do that. One of my favorite artists went there. I saw the video. It's okay. It's not that cool. I'm like, dude, actually go there and you'll experience things a lot different. So I feel like when you see things on social media, it's already giving you an experience that's not really there. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you mean.
It's like seeing a picture of a pizza and you're like, that pizza doesn't look delicious, and you never even had it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like an experience. You actually have to go there physically. You know.
And the other thing, with social media and the rise of social media, it has a lot of like, I kind of like differ on you on the sense that like maybe social media is making people like isolated, because in some ways it does help you connect.
Of course, I mean that was the purpose.
Right.
That was the purpose. Yeah.
It also does add to loneliness.
Yeah,
I'll definitely like admit that. Social media also has like another effect where like people are putting up very false ideas of themselves online, and that's giving others like the perception that everyone else is doing okay and I'm not doing okay.
Influencers, going back.
Yeah, exactly.
Living the ideal life, but in reality you're living a total mess.
Yeah. And kind of like when you think that everyone's doing okay, and you think that like, oh, why should I like turn to anyone? They're probably like doing amazing.
Not better. They'll look down on me.
Yeah. Maybe not even that. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm gonna burden them. Like if I start talking about it, and I might be like I might add bad vibes or like bad energy to their really good lifestyle right now. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of mindset. Like I've also like experienced it where I'm like there was just points in like the past few years where it was like I'd be going through something and I just kind of like I would need space. Like space is definitely important for people that are going through issues, but after like a few days you kind of do just need to open up. And like gratefully, like I've had people that would constantly reach out to me to like check up on me. It was only because people were checking up on me that I finally was like, okay, I'll let me talk about it. But I'm pretty sure like there are people out there that have friends, but maybe they don't like.
No one's checking on them.
Yeah, no one's checking on them, and then because of that, it's just like they don't feel that anyone really wants to that, and like no one really wants to hear about like problems.
Bro, I'm happy people reached out to, because if something went wrong, things could have gotten a lot worse. Sometimes all it just takes is one text to reach out to someone. It just takes one text to reach out to someone and to make sure they're okay. And you guys rekindle the whole friendship.
Right.
I think sometimes just because we don't text someone for like weeks and weeks, we think maybe they hate us. Over time it goes through hatred for no reason. And then you come back and meet them and you're like, dude, what happened? Why'd you just ghost me?
No, honestly, the biggest like misunderstandings are when you completely like you have the wrong perception of what someone is texting you. Because like when you're reading off the screen, there's no emotion.
There is no emotions.
Yeah,
emojis are not enough. Like the emojis are terrible.
No, emojis do help. I'm not gonna. Emojis do help. But let's say like, okay, you don't use emojis at all.
I mean, I used to. Like, here's the thing. I used to use the laughing emoji a lot, and people that actually knew, they're like, "Ifat, I know you're not laughing right now," and I wasn't. I wasn't laughing. I used to spam the laughing thing, but I would never laugh. So that's why I stopped abusing the emojis. I use it when I'm actually laughing now.
Right. So people that don't use emojis, I use emojis sometimes. I'm not like a chronic emoji user, but people that use emojis, they have like a better time at conveying emotion. But let's say other people that they're just not used to it,
traditional English,
or even like LOL or LMAO. That's why like LOL and like LMAO and like I don't know if people use Raffle anymore.
No, whoa,
No. Do you remember the XD?
XD. I used to use XD so much in games, bro. Like a lot.
People legit use that. Like
some people still use it today.
They do it like ironically though. It's like a meme, you know.
It's a meme, yeah.
Because XD is. It's just a funny face. Like when you see that online,
it's just
like,
eye crossing with just laughing out loud. I don't like it though. We have emojis now.
So the concept of emojis, it was kind of like brought up to make it
express yourself.
Yeah, to make it easier to express yourself through text, but people obviously don't always use it, and
some people abuse it, like I used to.
But what was I saying? But yeah, so. Text, it can be very like misconstrued very easily, especially when you don't know the person like really really well. So like you, I'm just gonna use it as an example. When we're talking like about like how to make the podcast work, or when you're giving me suggestions,
make it better, guys. Like here,
yeah, props. We had a props this time.
Yeah.
So like let's say when you're giving me suggestions or I'm giving you advice or you're giving me advice, it's just like statements, you know, they're just sentences. We're not gonna be like LOL, LMAO. Yeah. In a way, we're talking business, right?
We are talking business.
But I guess like if I didn't know you well, to the point where I would like talk to you in real life, because that's another thing. If you don't talk to a person in real life and your only exposure to them is through like a screen, you can get a very wrong idea of them. So like let's say I was just reading those texts. I can be like, oh, Ifad is like sending me a very cold message and he doesn't like any of my ideas, or vice versa. Like you can be like, oh, Shaquille, like his ideas suck,
or he's throwing out too many ideas.
Yeah, like, or he's being just like very cold in these statements.
But we know each other. We actually we know how we express ourselves, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So outside of us, it's perfectly okay, but or regarding us, it's personally okay.
Yeah.
But the point being that it's really.
You need some water, bro.
I still have some water.
Drink some water.
The point being that it's very very easy for problems to just come about that didn't need to come
for no
about.
reason.
For no reason. Like I have stories of people I know that literally they'd start beef online. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, you know what, we should meet up in real life to talk it out, and
it's
but
fine.
even that like suggestion would be in a very cold way. It'll be like, you know what, let's talk it out. Let's talk about like what how to resolve it, and then they'll come into like that conversation with the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna see all my points and I'm gonna be right. But then when they actually physically go there, they're just talking it out, and they're like, okay, damn, he does have a good point.
And it's not even about that subject anymore. It's like, dude, what are you doing
it's
today?
It's just like catching up.
Yeah,
and, like,
just casual.
Out. Yeah, and then they become friends again. Like,
yeah,
you know
you're so confused. Like, yo, you didn't
like,
take.
Yo, how did we?
Yeah, how did you do that?
What were we even fighting about?
Yeah,
it becomes like that. So let's kind of get back to like the statistics that I read off before. Just because I find them like really interesting, because the first one that I mentioned was that that 28% of older adults live by themselves now.
In their mom's basement?
No, just live by themselves.
Okay.
Pretty much like I guess that means they don't have any family in their household.
Wow, that's sad. Yeah.
And also it's kind of like I think people are too eager to take on that independence, or the other problem is that they're stubborn, and they let a lot of personal relationships go because of issues they could have resolved. Or the other issue could just be that they let a lot of things in their life take precedence. And another kind of factor I'd see in this is that relationships are dwindling in general, like in everybody's life, and
which type of relationships? Friendships,
family, like friendships, significant others.
Yeah.
And I guess like when you let those relationships kind of die out, whether it be like mutually or things just happen, or you get into the grind of your work life, and then you find yourself one day just by yourself, living by yourself it can be an asset for sure, because there's no disturbances, no diversions. but also like you're living by yourself, and like you can't really like let's say you just become craving for another person's presence like in a random night. It will be a lot more difficult for you to find that rather than living with your parents or living with a wife or husband.
Your loved ones, right?
Yeah, your loved ones.
Yeah. There's a lifestyle for this. Some people actually embrace it. It's called a hermit lifestyle. I'm pretty sure you know about this.
I don't.
They'll move on to like remote locations, islands, around the world, and they'll live there for durations of 6 months to a period of a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to enjoy it. Do you think?
I think that okay. So when it's like that, I think it's therapeutic. I think when it's something along those lines of trying to get away from the hustle and bustle of regular society and getting away from so much stimuli, then I think it can be therapeutic. But it's more of like I think kind of goes back to like what we were mentioning in the beginning, how there's a difference between isolation, loneliness, and enjoying your own company.
Own company, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for real. Like there are times when it's okay to be isolated.
Yeah.
Like in college, for example, since we're both in college, dude, like finals week, just be by yourself.
Yeah, I mean it never works. Study groups never work, bro.
Sometimes
Trust
they
me.
do.
Sometimes.
But when you need that aggressive level of studying
yeah,
to get through that week,
you need to be by yourself.
just be by yourself.
Yeah.
Or any creative outlet. I think most people would agree that they find solace in and a lot of inspiration when they're by themselves. Things just hit them, and it's more of just like you're grinding it out, and then you're waiting for inspiration to come to you, and that's more likely to happen when you're not with anyone else. And I was reading this book actually that kind of goes into that whole idea of inspiration, where this is kind of tangent, but it goes into this idea of inspiration where inspiration is something that is out of your hands, right? You only control the level of effort that you put into it. So you can grind out writing, for an hour every day for this specific period of time. You're still doing your craft. You're still elevating the techniques that you learned to make your writing as as high quality as it can be. But the substance, the inspiration, it'll come to you. You just got to put in the work, and then when you're in the middle of the work, it'll just come to you. And the book, it has a weird way of phrasing it. They use the metaphor of the muses. You know what the muses?
No, what's that?
So in like Greek mythology, the muses were sort of like the I don't know if they were goddesses of like the arts, right? So there was one muse for like music and singing. There was another muse for like poetry, and I think there were more, but they were basically known as like the patrons of the arts. And the whole category of the arts, music, poetry, writing, anything in that category was left up to them. And so when an artist in any of these things, they have a craft that is one of those things, and what they would believe is that the muse would come to them and give them the inspiration that they would need to make their art come to life. But the only thing that they would be responsible for is just putting in the work. I don't know how we got here, but
no, it's good. So do you think we have any muse right nowadays? Like,
I mean, I don't
just metaphorically speaking, do you think we have a muse? I think.
I mean, the concept of muse is not there, but inspiration definitely
it lurks.
Like I believe that it'll come to us definitely, whether it comes from like
influencers,
your subconscious or whatever. Like if it comes to like maybe God putting some kind of level of inspiration within you, or you like just all of a sudden getting that Eureka moment, because everyone has that Eureka moment in life.
Sometimes I think, this is me personal, I think we just stick to the inspiration too much and we never act on it. And I think that's very sad. Sometimes we just stick with the inspiration. We have so many ideas and we're inspired to do it.
Right.
But we just like, oh no, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it next day, next week. It never happens. Yeah. And it's sad,
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I just kind of want to go back to the whole central theme of loneliness. And the final kind of thing I wanted to talk about was the different outlets people go through to mediate, to rectify this problem of isolation and not being around people. So you were right in the sense that loneliness can lead to depression and a lot of other physical problems and mental problems like anxiety, depression, whatever. A friend of mine, he actually did a paper on this, like the concept of depression and the different outlets that they go through, and he sent it to me, and I kind of just want to read like some bits and parts of it, not like word for word, but one of the parts had to do with these drugs that people would turn to kind of mediate whatever they're going through, like SSRI drugs or other types of drugs or antidepressants. And he was basically saying that when people keep intaking these drugs rather than going through like intensive counseling or consistently checking up with a therapist or a professional and just going through these drugs or antidepressants, they start to create a dependency,
addiction, right?
Not, I wouldn't say addiction, but dependency. So like it might be addiction. No, I don't know, but I would call it a dependency, meaning that let's say when you for whatever reason you don't take these drugs anymore, it really has an effect on your body and your mental state because you relied on these drugs.
Addiction,
for
that's addiction.
I don't know. I think addiction is like a bit different, but let's just use the term dependency.
Dependency, okay.
Yeah,
no problem.
So that's kind of like I think when that happens, and all of a sudden they're cut off from that drug, it becomes a problem because it affects their mental state and physically too.
Yeah, it takes a turmoil on their whole body.
Yeah, and another problem was that when you have such a high rate of like dependency, so like when you have a high of from a drug or an external source, and you have a high and you're consistently on that high, meaning not like from weed per se, but just from an antidepressant, your mood is gonna get better, and then when you just don't have that anymore, you're gonna hit a low because when you need a high, to have a high, you need a low pretty much. And with that whole idea, it's very problematic when you keep pushing the idea that you need these drugs and you need to become reliant on it. And we're not experts in pharmacology or those industries, and we're not saying don't go to drugs when you need them. Of course, you need antidepressants and certain things and prescriptions by experts, and you should definitely need them. But counseling and therapy and exposure to other human beings, that goes a long way as well. And sometimes we do forget that bit.
Yeah, I think sometimes we all need to go see a therapist. It's not just for medical reasons. Sometimes people like that they're paid to listen to you. Yeah. If they're paid to listen to you, take advantage of that because most of them are actually good at doing their job. And they'll actually listen to your problems, like Shaquille was saying.
Yeah. What's crazy is that like dependency on these like drugs like SSRI drugs and like other types of drugs, apparently it's like the rate at which it's been rising has been 10% in the last 10 years just in college students. And college students are kind of the most vulnerable to these types of things because they have a lot of stressors. Like we have a lot of stressors just in multiple things like work, family relationships, school, that's a big one obviously, and just like what we're gonna do with our life. Like we have so many years to go. It's hard to choose something that's gonna give you stability and that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
that's a huge stressor.
Yeah, because you're just thrown out of high school, just to figure out life for yourself, But yeah,
and it's, I guess, like to wrap up this whole podcast, I just want to say that the people in your lives it's very important to really get close to those people and to really build your relationships and to really cherish the people that are looking out for you. Like I'm eternally grateful for the people that have been looking out for me throughout my entire life. I was talking to a brother the other day, just in the community, and he said something to the effect of it's such a beautiful thing to just see like how much people really love one another. Just how love manifests itself in someone with another person is just a mind-blowing thing in and of itself. Like when someone goes away or when someone passes away, the intense grief that you feel for that person is like, it's on another level. And but then the intense happiness you get when you like experience their comfort or experience their presence, or when you're remembering them and you find solace in that, that's a beautiful thing as well. And just those two spectrums and the extremes of those spectrums, it's amazing that all of that just comes from loving someone.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
And
with that,
if you want to add anything else?
Nothing else. That was well said.
All right. With that, that's the third episode of the Shady Youth Podcast.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you guys for sticking with us on a weekly basis. Peace out.